Overcoming addiction or substance use disorder is incredible, but speaking about it publicly takes it to the next level. I met my guest today at a local fundraiser. He stepped up to the podium in front of several hundred people and spoke for the first time publicly about his struggles with alcohol and his new and wonderful life after recovery. He is here today to talk about his personal story in the hopes that it will help others. Welcome to Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. Thank you for your review, and I hope you will subscribe to stay up to date with my latest episode. Joining me now is Alex Greer. He is the CEO and founder of Funky Pickle Productions, and he's a local guy born and raised in Margate, New Jersey. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Robin.
So, addiction or substance use disorder comes in many forms, and you are recovering from alcohol addiction, which is terrific. Congratulations. It's not an easy thing to do, I know. But talk to us about what you went through and the moment that led you to finally realize you needed help.
Yeah, so Robin, like a lot of people, drinking was just like always a part of my life growing up. Even as a kid, it was just always around family parties, things like that. But actually, up until late in high school, I really didn't drink. I was pretty resistant to the whole thing. Once I started drinking, I drank like everyone else, through college, just having a good time, and never really looked at it as anything that was really negatively impacting my life in any meaningful way. I was doing well in school. I was doing well after school, and getting great jobs, and everything was kind of going well. So it never really dawned on me that this was slowly kind of creeping into a problem for me. I lived in New York for years. I had a great job. I had a lot of fun. I went to all the shows and live music and great restaurants and traveled and did all those things. Once I started kind of working in the world of production and events, music and comedy, alcohol is very pervasive there. So every night I'm out, work related, really networking, going to shows, meeting up with people, and there's just always someone putting a drink in your hand. So it just became part of my everyday life that I was drinking and just doing it kind of casually in a way that I didn't recognize, that slowly but surely I was drinking way too much. And it wasn't just for fun anymore. It was just kind of part of my life. When you're living in New York City, you're surrounded by people doing the same thing. It's hard to look at yourself and say, I have a problem, when you're in rooms full of people that are drinking as much or more than you. But if there's one silver lining of the pandemic, it gave me an opportunity to really step back and look at what was going on in my life. And when all of the sort of fun chaos of New York City and my career was kind of pulled back, and it was just me, and I was still drinking, that's when I recognized that this was really becoming detrimental, and it was not serving any purpose. In fact, it was getting me to a pretty dark place.
And that's when you realized that you needed help. What was that like? What was it like to actually be in this situation where you finally said to yourself, I need some help. I cannot do this on my own.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's why a lot of people don't do it. It's why I didn't do it for as long as I didn't do it. It's really easy to sort of find everything else in your life to point to as why you feel the way that you do. I don't feel well. I'm depressed. I'm dealing with all sorts of stress and whatever. That's what the anxiety is. That's why I'm having these terrible feelings and thoughts. You don't want to look at it as a problem because it's really stigmatized in our society, partly because it's so pervasive, and it's just not something that people feel that comfortable talking about. But I think it just reaches a point where when it's just happening every day and it's not doing anything to brighten your life or do anything positive, you have to look at that, and you have to realize, I mean, I got to a point where I just knew that emotionally, like, I couldn't handle what was happening anymore. I knew that something had to stop. I knew that it was a problem. I didn't want to admit that, but I eventually just got to a point where I was overwhelmed by it, and I knew that if I didn't stop, the story was going to end pretty poorly. So, I feel very fortunate to have grabbed hold of it when I did. I feel very fortunate to have an amazing supportive family, and friends and people around me that, helped pick me back up when I needed that help. And then, so very fortunate to have Lisa B in my life, and her support helped me get to Enlightened Solutions and get into a treatment program that, honestly, it was terrifying. It was a terrifying experience to have to go through all that. You don't want to have to break down to your family and talk about what kind of has become your deepest, darkest secret. There's a lot of shame, associated with that. But ultimately, I look back at that moment, and what felt like such weakness is really like my greatest moment of strength. It was my opportunity to like break free of something that was really negatively affecting my life. And from that point on, it was an opportunity to do things differently, and have a new lease on life, and escape from that dark place that I was in.
That must have been a tough thing to do, but you came out of it on the other side, and look how much better your life is now. And I know the point you want to get across, and I want to talk about Lisa B as well, because she's an angel on earth. But the point you want to get across is this can happen to anyone. You're living your life, you're successful, you're doing, the right thing as far as business goes, and you have friends, you're, just like many of us. And all of a sudden this just sneaked up on you. And it can really just happen to anyone, whether it's alcohol or whether it's other substances. It can happen to any one of us.
Yeah. And I mean, especially alcohol. Like I said, New York City, really any place where, you go to a social gathering, there's always alcohol. We don't look at it as a drug. We look at it as just social lubricant. Like it's just part of our lives. It's
Yes.
so
People who
everyone,
would not do opioids or other types of drugs
right,
will stand there with a drink in their hand because
right,
it's just so socially acceptable.
right. And you know what? For some people, that's okay. I don't.
Hmm.
I'm not going to sit here and preach that everyone should quit drinking alcohol. Do I think everyone would benefit if they cut back or stopped? Sure. But if you can handle drinking and it's not negatively impacting your life, then more power to you. I'm all for that. Um, when it starts to go the other way, you don't want to recognize it. You don't want to admit that to yourself. And you can really get stuck. And I think that it's so important to kind of monitor where your drinking is. Why are you drinking? Are you doing it on a regular basis without thinking about it? Because we have to remember, like at the end of the day, this is a drug. It's an addictive substance. If you have enough of it with enough consistency, like that is how our chemical makeup works. You will eventually become addicted to it. For some people, it doesn't take much. For some people, it takes a lot. But I went years without ever feeling like it was really problematic until all of a sudden I didn't know how to stop. And I wanted to stop, but I just didn't know how. It didn't feel like I was in full control anymore. And it's a really, really scary feeling. And I think a lot of people can take a moment and look at the moments before they get there, because we all recognize it. We all joke about like, oh, I don't feel like going out again and drinking with my friends. I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel well. I'm having terrible hangovers. Like you can see yourself going in that direction. It's just a matter of, looking yourself in the mirror and being honest with yourself, as to whether, it still has value in your life.
There are a lot of people I know that are in the same situation as you. They may not want to admit it to themselves, but friends of mine who drink regularly at home on their own or really can't go out without having a drink. And I think it's become more of a problem in their lives. But as you said, it's a hard thing to admit, and it's sort of exposing yourself at your weakest moment. But I love what you said, because it's not your weakest moment. It's your strongest moment. It takes so much strength to do that and to overcome what you did.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when you went to Enlightened Solutions, it's a 30-day program in their location, correct? You're on
Yeah.
site.
So I know that like many recovery centers, there's different ways that you can approach this, whether you start going into a detox and a full live-in rehabilitation. I went to intensive outpatient therapy for a month, went out there 3 days a week, did group therapy sessions and different kinds of meetings and therapy, and really just like for the first time in a long time, looked at what was going on in my life. I think that we focus so much on the shame of like the substance itself, that you lost control to a substance. You didn't. I mean, yes, you did to some extent, right? The addictive substance plays a role in that, but it's really that the problem's deeper. There's something going on inside of you that makes you feel that you need this. To some extent, it was almost like me trying to medicate anxiety that I didn't otherwise know how to deal with. And, when it starts to take that turn, that's where I think it really becomes a problem, because, it's an addictive substance. It's not made for medicating things. So, I think that there's other ways to go about looking at what's going on in your life. It's really hard to do it when you're clouding your vision constantly with substances and just kind of avoiding ever reflecting upon these things. So, that was the first step toward opening up and being really vulnerable.
And
Not
what's
just
nice about that as well with many treatment programs is that there are other people that are experiencing the same thing as you, and you don't feel alone. You understand that this is a problem for many people, and you get to hear their stories as well.
Yes, and there's really something to that. There's something to that shared experience. In the same way that you don't feel like you can talk to people about this, it's very easy to talk to someone else that's been through it or is going through it. I had a really hard time accepting, that I was one of those people. I was as guilty of the stigma as anyone else. I felt like I couldn't fit in that category. But what I realized is I'm just like all of those people, and it's okay. In fact, it's great to recognize that, because now you're on your path to, improving your life, and talking about these things. And that's the most important part about this whole process is being able to get it out, talk about it, self-reflect, and understand what's actually going on, so you can treat the real problem at the core of any sort of substance abuse.
And we met at a fundraiser. Lisa B sadly lost her son, Matthew B, to addiction. And she has done amazing work in our community to help others overcome this problem and to avoid what she has gone through. And it's the Matthew B Memorial Fund. And we met at that event, and you spoke publicly for the first time about what you went through. What was going through your mind at that time?
So, I mean, I look at Lisa like a guardian angel. Like, she swooped into my life. She'd always been a family friend, but in that desperate moment of need, like, she came up in a way that I could just never even imagine. And, it was scary to have that phone call, and it was scary to take those first steps, but she made it so much easier. She rallies so many people to support families from, like you said, ever having to go through the tragedy that she's experienced. It's really
and in a very non-judgmental way. There is never judgment at all, and that's just amazing.
Absolutely. But what was also beautiful is she was very straightforward. I remember being on that phone call and her asking me, how old are you? And I think 36 at the time. And she's like, oh yeah, no, this will be the rest of your life if you don't do something about this now. So like, we should do something. And it was blunt, but it was loving. It wasn't judgmental. It was just, hey, like, there's not really turning back at this point. Like, if you keep doing this, this is just what it's going to be. And that was kind of where I was, accepting that. And I think there was that bluntness that just made it like, okay, we'll give this a try. I mean, I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. So, she's amazing. So,
she is amazing. And to take a tragedy like that and to turn it into something good and positive for other people is just, she is truly an angel. And wow. I just give her so much credit for being able to do that, because to think about what she has gone through, it's incredible that she can actually move forward from it and do good for other people.
Yeah. And so, when she asked me to speak at the event, I was at first a little surprised, but after talking to her about it, I really felt at ease. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, to speak more openly about what I went through and where I'm at now, because I'm a much happier, healthier person now, and I'm not going to go back. There's no desire to go back to that lifestyle, and I feel confident in that, and I want other people to be able to hear that. But it's scary to take that first step and get out there
Yes,
and speak about
yes.
it.
I was amazed that you did that. And you even said that when you spoke, you said there are people here that aren't going to believe that I know in the community that aren't going to believe this story, that I'm saying this right now,
Yeah,
which I came up to afterward because I thought I have had alcoholism in my own family and I know it's a difficult thing to overcome. So I just wanted to meet you and invite you on my podcast because I thought it was such an important topic to share with other people and let them know, yes, you can live without it. It's okay. I know
yeah,
you've been out in social situations and other people are drinking. So you get a soda, you get a glass of water. It's not as big a deal as you might think. And I think the pressure is less now. Used to be, why
for
aren't you
sure.
drinking? Come on, have a drink. I think people get it now. Like you do you, right?
Yeah, 100%. And like there's bars that specialize in mocktails now. Like it's
Yes.
a thing. It's totally acceptable. So that part is becoming a little bit easier. I think the hard part is just what you're so used to. Any kind of change is tough. Any kind of change, like, let's be honest, this is a drastic one, to take something like that out of your life, and then to start realizing that certain situations, certain people, certain places, whatever it may be, it's not for you anymore. It's a hard thing to come to terms with, because you go through a little bit of an identity crisis. That being said, you work through it. You get to the other side of it and you realize the reason that you don't want to do those things anymore is because you don't want to do those things anymore. And it's okay. It's okay to just evolve and change and do more fulfilling activities. You realize that so much of my time was spent hanging out in a bar, talking about nothing, not remembering conversations the next day. And that's empty. That's really a big waste of time and money. I have so much more time, so much more energy, so much more opportunity. And I don't think you realize that until you get to the other side and you start taking those steps and you get through those first couple of barriers that feel uncomfortable and challenging. But that's why you have to just lean in. You have to self-reflect. You have to find people to talk to about this kind of stuff. You have to put the work in to improve your life, and then all of a sudden the rest of it starts to make sense. You don't need all of these other things. In fact, it was really a distraction and a weight that's now lifted off your shoulders.
I bet it is. And it was probably a weight lifted off your shoulders to speak about it publicly, just to kind of like exhale and say, I did this and I'm open about it. And I know you said someone else came up to you and, they think they might have a problem and you've already touched someone's life.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it came down to for me, is if me sharing my story has helps one person, then it was worth it to share. Because I know for me, some of the sources that really sparked me to like think about sobriety, they were not the ones that I thought would be, the most influential. Reading about a comedian and game show host that, I did a little bit of that in my life as well. So like that was something that I related to, but otherwise I didn't really know this person. But just kind of seeing a little bit of that mirror there and hearing that person's story and how much better their life got afterwards, and really, it was really because they changed their life. That those are the things that made me kind of start to think about it. And it still took time, but if you can plant those seeds and let someone just think a little bit more about what they're doing, because that's the
Mhm.
number one thing. We
And
stop
that's
thinking
what Lisa
about
B
it.
does with her
Yeah.
fund for her son. The Matthew B Memorial Fund raises, we had this event, a fundraising event, and that money is used for people to go into treatment who might not be able to afford it otherwise. And she has a wonderful relationship with Enlightened Solutions, and many people have recovered after going there and live a full life just like you're doing now? How long has it been for you?
We're coming up on about 2.5 years.
And what's
Um,
life like today?
it's a lot better. Like I said, the first thing is you get a lot of time back. You kind of feel like you're a different person because you have so much more time, so much more energy, just a completely different perspective on life, what you want to do with your time. Um, I really kind of started focusing on things that had depth and meaning. Like I started a business, and
Yes.
I wouldn't I
Talk to
wouldn't
me about
necessarily
that. Funky
I
Pickle
wouldn't necessarily
Productions.
recommend
Uh,
I wouldn't necessarily recommend starting a business in early sobriety. It's a very stressful thing, but it did serve to keep me busy and keep me focused on other things other than just kind of adapting to a new lifestyle. Um, I fell in love with playing pickleball and I was out there every single day, and I was meeting new people and building a community and just really falling in love with this sport and the community that exists around it. And that provided a different type of support that I really needed in that time. You know, it's like the catch 22 about getting all this time back is, oh no, what do I do with all this time? So you have to find ways to fill it. And once you do and you start finding fulfilling ways to fill it, then you kind of forget about all the other things. In fact, I started to look back and, like I said, realize what a waste of time and money and all of that. So many of my activities were prior to getting sober. So I played
now your
pickleball.
activities surround something healthy,
That's right.
fitness and exercise. It's a different way of looking at it.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
it's so
still fun.
funny.
It's more fun.
Yeah, and it's so funny that the running joke about pickleball is how everyone becomes so addicted to pickleball. And when people are throwing around that term, and I'm like on the courts, and people don't really know what I'm going through, I was just always laughing about that because you know what, this was my healthy addiction. This was the replacement for my addiction,
Sure. If you have
and
to be addicted to something, let it be a sport, right?
that's right. That's right. So after just really growing to embrace pickleball and the community that existed around it, my wheels started turning, and I wanted to start creating events again. That was what I did before the pandemic. The pandemic kind of pulled that away from all of us, really. And I just wanted this opportunity to like get back out there and start doing something that I love to do. And now with this new thing that I love to do. And after going to a pickleball tournament, I realized that we could use a little work on how the pickleball tournament experience looks and feels. For so many people, the sport is social and recreational. It's fun. You go out, you play, then you go out to dinner with your friends. You build kind of a whole lifestyle and community for yourself around the game. But the tournaments were very much just a competition, and they lacked kind of any sort of energy or dynamic. People weren't really hanging out and engaging. They were sort of playing and going home. And that felt really like a missed opportunity. People want to hang out and connect. That's
They
why
want to
they
have
play.
fun.
They want to have fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, God forbid, right? We have fun. So I thought, I had built an event called We Be Spelling, which was a fun comedic spin on a spelling bee to raise money for charity. And I thought to myself, if I can make a spelling bee fun, I can make pickleball really, really fun, because people actually want pickleball, right? They don't necessarily want a spelling bee, but they want pickleball. And so I just got to work and um, brought together both my career experience in producing events and activations and experiences, and then all of my different passions. I love funk music, I love comedy, I love pickleball. So it's like, how do we jam all this stuff together, create a really fun environment, food, entertainment, bring people together in a really positive way, and also raise money for a cause. So we started raising money for the AMI Foundation. They have the mobile mammography van that travels
Hmm.
around South Jersey, providing mammographies for women that need a mammogram, and it's really something awesome that we're able to like have this awesome community event, create a block party type atmosphere, play a game, raise money for charity. I mean, that's what I'm proud and excited to be spending my time doing now.
That is fantastic. So hence the name Funky Pickle, because you like funk music, which I do too. I love
Yeah.
funk music. So that's fantastic. And are all your events for charity, or some of them are not for charity?
So I love to just keep a philanthropic piece to everything that I do. I think events are just, it's easy to do a little bit of good with an event. I can't say that 100% of what we do is purely philanthropic. We are building, an entertainment business around this as well, but we do incorporate causes when we do these large festivals. So we're now in Ventnor. We're going on year 4. That's our home court, and
I
we're
got to
gonna.
come this year. That sounds
You
like a lot of
absolutely
fun.
do. You
That sounds
absolutely
like
do.
a lot of fun. When is it in the summer?
It's the last weekend of July, so that's become our
Okay.
weekend, July 26th and 27th this year. Before that, we'll be down in Miami. This will be the second time we're down there in April 13th, and we're supporting Shane Battier and his foundation called Battier Take Charge, which gives out scholarships to kids. Actually helps a lot of kids here in Camden, which is really cool. And we're looking to kind of continue to expand, do some stuff around Philly, potentially New York. We're just looking to kind of grow our footprint because, for me, pickleball was a lot of things, but it also really served this important role of just giving me purpose and connection and fun and happiness, in a time when I really, really needed it. And
Don't we
it's
all? Actually, don't we all?
yeah. And so it's really personal to me. And I also realize, like, it can do that for other people. You never know what
Yes.
anyone's going through, right? I mean, we never know. So
No, you
to,
don't.
to be able to give a game to someone and bring them joy even in those couple of moments, you never know how that can impact someone's life.
That
And
is so true. And
yeah.
especially around something healthy like that. I've played tennis my whole life, which is at first I was like, no, I'm not going crossing over to the other side. I am not playing pickleball. And then I played and I was like, it's actually really fun. I have
It's
to admit
really
it,
fun.
because they were
It's
taking
really
our
fun.
courts away.
Right. I get it. I understand the rivalry, but believe it or not, you can play both things.
You
It's
can,
allowed.
and both are very social, but pickleball even more so, I have to say, because it's
Yeah.
sort of like you play a few games, you step out. It's not like tennis where you have to play a whole match and you're there for a couple hours. You can go play pickleball for 45 minutes and then leave. It's kind of nice like that. It's a lot
Although
of fun.
I dare you to pull someone off the courts after 45
No,
minutes.
no, it doesn't happen.
You
It
don't want to
doesn't
go
happen.
anywhere.
But if you had to, you could leave. You're right. I
Yeah.
know, because I play it with a group of people that they're talk about being really into it. Everyone's really into it, but
Yeah.
everyone talks to each other and laughs and has fun. And that's the nice part about it. And if you can build your social life around a sport, it's so healthy and it's such a great thing to do, whether it's the gym or a sport or even just walking with a friend. If you can build that into your life, it's such a healthy way of living.
Yeah. And, for me, people talk about how pickleball is not, as physical as tennis and it's not necessarily a great workout. Well, personally, between stopping drinking and playing pickleball, I lost about 30 pounds in 4 or 5 months when I
That's
first
amazing.
the weight just came right off because I was out there running around. And,
Don't let anyone tell you it's not a workout. It's a workout.
that's right.
It is
That's
a
right.
workout. I've played it and I played tennis for 35 years and believe me,
Yeah.
it's a workout.
It's
Yeah.
you just work different muscles. It's a different type of
Hmm.
workout.
Yeah.
But what's also so beautiful is, like, I have this friend group now that it's people from their mid-20s to their mid-70s. And sometimes we all get together. It looks like a family reunion. It's so funny. And I would never think that, what thing in our lives brings together guys, girls, all different age groups and walks of life. And, like, we can really hang out and have fun. We
That
go on.
is amazing. And it's not just for the older crowd anymore. We should make that
That's right.
point. Yeah,
That's right.
everybody's playing pickleball now. My 23-year-old son plays pickleball now. So
Yeah.
it's funny how it has spread. When I first heard of it, I don't know how long, 12 years ago, I was like, what is that? I didn't even know. And now there's professional tournaments and it's crazy. So you really, hooked onto a great idea here. And I wish you well with it. It seems like it came at the right time in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely looking back, you start to see all of these things and why things happen and when they happen, and do they happen for a reason? And I don't know, but I like to believe that they do. And I think that it's important to see those silver linings and not take everything at face value, because you don't know how it's going to change your life. And I feel very fortunate that everything sort of worked out the way it did. Because 5 years ago, if you told me that this would be my life right now, I would have never believed you. Even 2.5 years ago, I would have never
Yeah,
believed.
right.
So it's just amazing to see what can happen when take hold of your life and make changes.
And there's a
To
lot of gratitude there. I can see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very grateful for your many blessings and for the work you put in, because you had to do it. No matter what anyone says, you still have to do it, and you did it. So I give you a lot
It
of
is.
credit, and I'm
Yeah,
going to see you out on the pickleball court soon.
yeah. Let's go do it, Robin.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Alex.
I mean,
That was not an easy thing to do, and I appreciate it. And thank you for being with me today for Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. I hope you'll subscribe and send me a review if you like this podcast. And I'll see you next time. Until then, keep living well.